Now the news. Israel's opposition and a section of the public are coming down heavily on the government's plans to overhaul the judicial system. At the opening of the Knesset's Constitution, Law and Justice Committee, unruly scenes and emotional shouting were witnessed as opposition members sparred over the two bills that are expected to be passed today. The opposition chanted slogans of shame at the ruling members. While one of the bills plans to curb the High Court justices' powers to exercise judicial review, the other bill prevents the High Court from intervening in ministerial appointments. On Sunday, Israel's president, in a televised address, appealed to the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to seek a compromise with his political opponents.
An agreement can be reached. The President's office is fully committed to the issue and is open at all hours of the day for talks that will advance any cooperation arrangement you choose. From a joint meeting through the establishment of an action team to a committee that will deal with formulating the agreements. Any way you choose, any time you choose, provided that we move to a constructive and sustaining discourse and abandon the deceiving, belittling and nullifying discourse. I appeal to the chairman of the Knesset's Constitution, Law and Justice Committee and appeal to the coalition with a request not to bring the law to the first reading.
For more on this story, let's now go across to my colleague Judy Cohen. She has been tracking these developments closely for us. Judy, of course, there are relentless protests against this bill across the country. The president has appealed to the Prime Minister to make peace with the opposition. The opposition leaders have been protesting. People are on the streets. But the Prime Minister and his government are digging their heels in. Is it now a matter of hours, perhaps, before we see the passage of this bill in the Knesset?
No, it's not going to be a matter of hours. In the latest, we've seen that the Constitution, Law and Justice Committee have passed the first of the judicial reform bills regarding the judges selection panel, but the government has said that it will wait one more week before bringing any of these bills to a vote in the Knesset plenum. Now, that's in response to President Herzog's statement to the nation, as you talked about on Sunday evening, where he called on the committee chair not to bring the law to the first reading before these issues have been resolved. I've been speaking to people in the parliament today, such as a Yesh Atid advisor, who said that the opposition simply don't have the numbers to stop the legislation, but that they are using delaying tactics. And we've seen that former Defence Minister Gantz has called to create a bipartisan working group. Now, the government says that they divided the judicial reform plans into separate bills in order to enable discussion on each clause. The opposition says that that was a move to weaken the opposition. However, from the protests we've seen in Jerusalem today, it doesn't look like it's weakening the public going out to have their say. We've seen about 60,000 people taking to the streets, marching outside the Knesset, the Israeli parliament today. We've seen trains and stations blocked, roads blocked. And remember that this is midweek. Ambassador Michael Oren said that the sorts of numbers we're seeing protesting is the equivalent as if 7 million Americans were taking to the streets. So that really gives you an idea of the scale of the protests here. The coalition members of parliament, meanwhile, have been condemning leaders of the opposition, some of them for their behaviour and for their incitement, saying that they are misleading members of the public. They're saying that the reforms would restore democracy. The opposition, of course, are saying that the reforms would harm democracy.
All right, let's see how this pans out. Thanks very much, Judy, for all those details.
Thank you.